Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast, where all accountants come to learn all the ways to grow your firm. And when you're in doubt, I am here to help you out. So if you're ready to learn and ready to grow your firm, then you're in the right place to sharpen your skills and increase your revenue. So before we get into the nitty-gritty, I am eager to discover more about those of you who listen each and every other week. And if you're wondering how you can do this, I'd like to take just a moment to extend an invitation for you to subscribe and leave a written rating for the show so I can keep on delivering the content you want and love. Then I'm going to take that review and highlight it here on a future episode on the Abundant Accountant Podcast. And for today, you know that sharing is caring, but you're going to want to make sure to screenshot today's episode on your phone. And at the end, when you're finished listening to it, tag me, Michelle Weinstein, and our incredible guest for today and my partner in crime, Denise Mando, and post it on your LinkedIn feed and hashtag the Abundant Accountant Podcast. And tell us, what's the most valuable lesson you got from today's episode? So once again, I invite you to take a screenshot of today's episode on your phone when you're finished listening to the show, tag me, Michelle Weinstein, as well as our amazing guest and my partner in crime, Denise Mando, and make sure to hashtag the Abundant Accountant Podcast when you post it on your LinkedIn feed and tell us what is the most valuable lesson that you got from today's episode. Now let's start the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. I am very excited to be here again with you today. And today we have a very special guest. Our special guest is Denise, also my partner in crime. And today we are talking about the dangers of selling after your prospect is already sold or enrolled with your services. So I'm not sure if any of you listening have had this problem before, but that is one we are definitely going to talk about today because, you know, we've all had this problem as we're growing our firms and our businesses, and something Denise and I have heard hundreds of times over during the years of sales coaching and coaching in just sales professionals in general. I've heard this, like I had a client that I thought was going to enroll with me, but then they ended up not going through with it at all, and I never really heard from them. And, you know, you thought you really connected with the client, but then they just disappeared, right? We call this the disappearing act. And we completely understand how you feel because we've personally been there. But honestly, it's something that a lot of people don't really know is that you can actually ruin a new client engagement or a new client prospect, proposal, whatever you want to call it, by continuing to keep selling after the prospect's already been on board with you. And it's really like, how do you define that fine line as to when do you need to stop talking and the client's already sold versus when do we need to keep talking and answering questions? So in today's episode, Denise and I will be explaining all of these uncomfortable situations that you might encounter and how to never really react to it again. So Denise, welcome to the show. It's awesome having you here today, as always. And, you know, I know you're coming all the way from, I'm in San Diego and Denise is in New Jersey. So Denise, say hi to everybody. And can you just share with a little bit about your background so they know who you are, in case they forgot?
Sure. So yeah, I'm Denise Mando. I am from Neptune, New Jersey, and partnered up with Michelle. It's our 1-year anniversary this month of partnering up, so pretty awesome. So yeah, I have a background. I was a financial advisor for 22 years, worked with many CPAs around helping my clients maximize their tax savings and estate planning and all kinds of good stuff. So love working with accountants and been in sales and working with business owners for over 35 years. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I know we are talking about a really fun topic. And I just want to share this quote by a keynote speaker, activist, Shiv Khera. And it's 90% of selling is conviction when only 10% is persuasion. I know that if you already have the conviction and if you already have the right solution for your clients, then instead of persuasion, Denise and I like to say influence more, but it's really easy to influence a positive outcome of the conversation that you're looking for. This means that your sale might actually happen faster than you've ever been used to before. And that's really where this conversation today comes from. So Denise, what's your take on that? I know we talk about we use the word influence a lot versus persuade people, but what does that mean to you?
It's just like when you're really tuned in with someone and you're really being of service and being on the same side of the table as them, what you say and how you are being with them has an impact, or it influences somebody's choices or decisions. Whereas persuasion is actually moving them into something. But I think influence is like when you have certainty and you're like, people want to know they're working with the best, right?
Right.
So when you're certain and you have that confidence, it's definitely influencing.
It's definitely influence. So Denise and I like to come from the aspect of influence, and influence, the basis of that is confidence. Right. And when you're confident in what you offer, and you're confident in your fees, and you're confident in your services, and you're confident in the results you can deliver, that confidence acts as an influence to your prospects sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
Right?
And let's distinguish also, confidence doesn't mean cocky, right?
True. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, because, sometimes do you ever come across someone, they're like, well, I know everything, they're kind of like a know-it-all.
Yes.
And then they're like, well, you got to listen to me, and so that's more cocky, whereas confident is like, yeah, I'm really certain, like, I see that you have some problems and I'm certain that we can help you solve those problems.
Yeah. And I guess what we're both saying is certainty will lead to influence, right? So you might wonder, like, why talking after the sale, or not after the sale, but why talking after a client's already enrolled could hurt you. And I think a lot of this may stem from, and Denise, you can share a few of your ideas too, but probably every sales conversation you have, you're just winging it, right? And when we just wing it and we don't have a consistent flow and a consistent process, we miss the anatomy of the process of the sale. So we don't even know when the client is ready to engage. And working with so many accountants, we've learned that winging it doesn't get the results that we're each looking for. And a lot of this could lead to a lot of talking, right? So Denise, do you want to talk about that part of it? Because, we always talk about the 80-20 rule here on the Abundant Accountant podcast, but talking too much happens because of why?
Well, so, maybe you've heard this myth before. The myth is, whoever talks the most wins.
Right.
Not true at all. When I used to, when I was first starting out in sales and, I was just winging it, and because, I didn't have a sales system. I didn't know, right? I didn't have that. So I would just be talking away, thinking I was telling them about everything they needed and everything like that, everything they didn't know. I mean, it was painful. It was painful, and it didn't get the job done. But, so really the real truth is it's whoever talks the least but has the best questions wins, right?
Right. So when our clients are talking a lot more, like we've chatted about here many times, that's always a good sign. But when you talk too much, it could happen because you're coming from when, like, the caution and fear come up. And when caution or fear or lack of confidence arise, it all stems from, that's why you might start talking too much, and it could really, kill an opportunity with a new client. So this happens if you don't know what to say at all, or you stumble on your words, right? Or maybe you don't just know when to stop talking and you just keep talking because you've learned what Denise just said, where whoever talks the most wins, where actually in what you do in your firms, it's the reverse. The least amount that you talk, the better will win. Another area that you might, keep stumbling upon is that you're just not in a neutral state. So we're nervous, we're excited, we're just not even keel. And even keel is really where we want to go. Or maybe you're coming from a scarcity mindset where you really need the next client sitting in front of you, and you just keep talking and talking, thinking that that will help them enroll and engage in your services, when really that walks people away from you. It scares them. So if you're focusing more on the sale than on the relationship with your new prospect, that could also hurt you. in having a new client in front of you. And we were talking about this the other day, actually, when we were having one of our classes. And it's so important to distinguish the difference that the person in front of you is the person you're here to help and serve. It has nothing to do with you getting a new client. We're here just to help support you in an area on a better way to get more clients. However, really coming back to the foundation of the sale, which is the relationship aspect with a new prospect, is the key ingredient to all of your success, growing your firms with more clients that you love and really want to help and serve. So we actually want to take the focus off of the sale and this new client, right? And just focus on, if, like what Denise was saying, sitting on the same side of their table, pretend you're having a picnic with this person and you're sitting next to them and not across from them. So Denise, why should you talk less? You want to share all those reasons why?
Why should you talk less? Well, so you can listen more. Right?
That's so easy to say. It's so easy to say.
Right. Well, but that's the thing, is when you really prepare ahead of time and really understand where you're leading someone in a conversation, then, there's no uncomfortable silences or anything like that. And that's okay for some silence to be there, but you have to understand why silence is good, right?
Yes. Silence is great, but also knowing that your clients buy for their reasons and not for yours, right? So similar to what we were just talking about as far as the client relationship aspect and not having the sale being so attached to the outcome, which sometimes has us talking too much and then you lose the sale. Another thing is remembering that, people enroll and purchase based on their reasons, and it actually has nothing to do with what you think. Right. So I think a lot of accountants we've worked with, you might think that this is the end all be all for this client, or this is the tax plan they need, or this is the, bookkeeping package service that they need. But it's not really about what you think. It's really about what are their reasons.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? If you're talking too much, then you're not listening to what their needs are. So how can you really even know if you're just like talking away, right?
Right.
And usually, again, that comes from, not being prepared, winging it, or just, not really being sure what to say or what questions to ask, that kind of thing, right? So, yeah. And then sometimes, when you're in the conversation, then all of a sudden your client starts asking you questions, like, and that happened to me even a couple of times last week. Client asked me, "Oh, well, how did you get into this?" And the tendency is to start, talking about me, and that's kind of dangerous because that gets you off track, and then you can lose control of the conversation. And next thing you know, an hour later, and nothing's happened, or they're like, "Bye, I gotta go."
So Denise, how many sales did you miss out on just recently, just from talking too much? And about you?
Well, I don't know. Do I really want to share that? I don't know.
I mean, it was a few, right? It happens to all of us, everybody. You're not alone in this. It does happen to not only you. This is a normal thing, but we really want to share it with you because this is an area that you can practice and work on right now in your firms. This is something you can change. And really having, for me, what helps, I would say, probably even last month, I probably missed out on 3 or 5 opportunities just because they started asking me questions. And then I started talking about myself, and you don't even realize it because you're so immersed in the conversation. I'm sure each of you with your prospects and future clients have a similar challenge. But what you miss out on, and what the important element here is, the key information. It's the, what is it that you want to know about your clients that if you talk too much, you're never going to learn, right? So how can you ask questions to gather the key information from your clients and write it down? And we always say, live by your strategic questions, right? Because if you ask the right questions and they're open-ended, your clients will talk 80% of the time and you will only talk 20% of the time. So it's definitely a win-win for everybody. But Denise and I both have lost out on opportunities due to this, and we don't want that to happen to you at all. So Denise, what keeps people from enrolling, with a new accountant or with a new accounting firm? What do you think those main reasons are and what are some ways that our accountants listening today can, we're all about taking action, by the way, at the Abundant Accountant Podcast. So whatever we're discussing today, we want you to put into action immediately. So what are some ways that, we can keep people or not keep people from enrolling with us?
Well, sometimes what we found is that when people don't know what to say, or let's say the person says, yes, I'm ready to move forward. And then you keep talking,
Right.
You keep talking. Like I used to work with this guy, Mel.
Mel?
When I was,
okay.
Yeah, his name was Mel. And he was a fun guy, just a really good colleague of mine. But we would be doing a presentation for a potential client, and they would already be a yes. And he would keep talking. I'd be like stomping his foot under the table.
So what did you do to get him to stop? What happened?
Literally, I would kick him under the table. And when he wouldn't stop, we would lose the sale every time, because people are like, because you almost like talking them out of it.
Yeah. So that's a good point. When you talk too much, you actually talk your clients out of working with you. So it's a really, really fine line, right? And if you don't have someone like Denise to kick you under the table, you can think about Denise and I kicking you under the table. But what are some things for you, like even right now, Denise, when you're working with clients or when I'm working with clients, that you can pick up on, like to catch yourself, right? Sometimes we have to give ourselves like a red flag, like, okay, I'm saying that. I better revert back to let me ask an open-ended question and keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Or, so you ask a question and maybe in your mind you're counting 10 seconds, even if they're not answering, because they may be thinking, right? Yeah. Or here's another way, right? Just
drink a sip of coffee. I know all of you are right now, especially during the tax season. And, you guys are all busy all year round, but have a sip of coffee to stop the chatter coming out of your mouth. Or like me, I always have massive bottles of water everywhere. So I just drink water. Or the other little trick is I just ask a really great open-ended question. I put my phone on mute. That's only works if you're on the phone with a client. If you're in person with them, that won't work as well.
Yeah. Or you can just say, that's really interesting. Tell me more about that.
That's good. That's really interesting. Tell me more. Denise, what's another question you could say to get the clients to talk a little bit more?
Well, just so I'm clear, I just want to make sure I understand. Can you repeat that again?
Oh, that's good. Another way too is just repeat what they just said and then say that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Did I get that right?
Did I get that right?
Repeat, say their words back to them and, hey, did I get that right?
Right. So it could go something like this. Like, Denise, I heard you say when you were working with Mel, he would keep talking and talking and talking, and you would have to kick him under the table. Did I hear you right? Is there anything else that you had to do to get him to stop talking?
Yeah, that is right. That really happened all the time, Michelle. And you know what? I had to take him aside and train him to stop doing that. We had a code word,
A code word. Right. But a lot of you are solopreneurs, or I like to call you solo accountingpreneurs. And you don't have someone to kick you under the table, or you don't have a partner like Denise that will yell at you across the country. So I want to make sure you understand a few takeaways today of some signs when your clients are ready to start working with you. Okay. So hopefully this will bring up some of the things you can start listening for. So when you become a really good listener, this will stand out a little bit easier. But Denise, typically what I hear, and feel free to chime in with any ideas, but this is a few things that your clients will say when you know they're ready to start working with you. They will actually say, so what are the next steps? Right? When someone says that to me, I say, do you want to use American Express, Visa, or MasterCard? Okay. You go right into the payment piece. Don't wait. And a lot of you have heard me share, never send a proposal. They might even say, that they agree and they believe you will be able to help them. They might say something like, you know what, Denise, I believe that you are going to be the exact firm I was looking for. You can help me fix all my bookkeeping problems. My business books are a mess. I can't wait to get started. If you hear I can't wait to get started, that's another key thing to listen for. That means stop talking and ask for payment. Denise, do you have any other ones that you've heard that are really good that you've experienced even recently?
So can I pay for this monthly?
Yes. So can I pay for this monthly? That's another good one. If the client is saying like, well, when can we get started? When can we get started means that they're ready to engage with you. You do not need to sell anymore. You do not need to explain how amazing you are. This is an opportunity for you to collect payments from your clients and start helping and serving them. And then guess what? After you're paid 100% in full, you can talk as much as you want. That's your green light.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And that's another mistake I see people make too, or hear people make, is now they've asked for payment, and while the person's looking, they keep talking. It's like, no, be quiet. They're in the mode.
They're
Just
in
let
the
them get
mode.
their credit card.
Yes. Let them get their
Or
credit
let them sign
card.
their form.
Or let them sign their ACH payment, because now you have a new monthly client. But it is really important when you get to the payment part to actually stop talking, because when you start over talking and overstepping really what the next step is, this is where clients will say, you know what, actually, maybe we can talk about this next week, and you can ruin it for yourself. It happens all the time. And there's this great quote by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So when you show how much you care, they will start saying some of those things that we just shared, collect the payment, and then you can show them what you know. So the know part, know, K-N-O-W, okay, not the N-O one. So I just want to make sure that we're clear. This is the K-N-O-W. The know part is your knowledge, and your knowledge is worth money. And so your clients need to pay you for your knowledge. So I really want to make this clear, because we have worked with so many of you, and we give a lot of our know away for free. And Denise and I are taking a stand for each of you that you don't ever do that in your firms anymore, and that you get paid for your know, your K-N-O-Ws, not your N-Os. So again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So the whole sales process is showing how much you care, because you do. Every single accountant that Denise and I have worked with, you care a lot. You're the most caring people I've ever worked with, and I love it because of that. However, we are here to take a stand and support you in any way we can to make sure that you get paid for your K-N-O-W. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. Denise, anything else you would like to share from your personal experiences and stories about making sure, you and I have gotten stuck in coaching people on accident, right? And this is an area where sometimes we want to help people and we want to give away our K-N-O-W, right? This is going to be our little inside thing for today. But we can't, because otherwise you won't understand how much we really care. Because if we gave you a little piece of our K-N-O-W, it's actually not going to solve your problem. It might make it worse.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. It's like, and that's what we hear. Like, people are so good at, so want to give, but you don't want to give Band-Aids out when somebody needs brain surgery, right? And we talk about that a lot. But
yeah,
and that's the thing. It's like a little piece of the recipe. It's great. Maybe you just need a little fine tuning. But what we found is that most people that we have worked with, they really don't have the whole process in place, and that's why they're not getting the results they want. And that's why they're like, oh my God, I'm giving so much of my time away for free. And we just are like, no, that has to end.
Yeah,
we want you to get paid for that.
Exactly. So we want you to get paid for your K-N-O-W, edge, knowledge, or L-E-D-G-E. Anyway, I was not good at the spelling bee. So our takeaway for you today is really to self-reflect and think about, if you continue to sell after your prospects in front of you are already enrolled and want to sign up and work with you, be it on a monthly package or a tax plan or a tax resolution engagement or a bookkeeping client, whatever it may be. And really think about, are you, right? And be true to yourself, because that's step one to changing something, is actually owning up to where you're making mistakes. And re-listen to this, take some really good notes on the tips that we shared with you so you can improve in your sales conversations and areas as it relates to growing your firms and increasing your revenue so you can work with more clients. Denise and I want to thank you for being here with us on The Abundant Accountant today. And feel free to share this with a friend or a colleague or another accountant that you know, because they might learn something from this. So thank you so much for being here. Denise, any other closing thoughts for today?
Not that I can think of. I think we covered a lot. It was awesome.
Thank you all so much for joining Denise and I today on the Abundant Accountant podcast, talking about everything of selling after your clients are already engaged and enrolled with you. And, they're just looking for you to guide them to completing the process so they can actually start working with you. And also, if this podcast has helped you in any way, shape, or form with your firm, I'd love to hear your stories. So if you could email me at hello@thepitchqueen.com, that would be amazing. I would love to see how this has helped you grow your firm. Also, if you have a quick second, please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes and subscribe to the show. I always love reading your reviews and, sharing the show with your other accountant friends and colleagues. And one last thing before I let you go, if you've ever felt like you give away too much information for free, that knowledge that I was talking about today, and you're tired of not being paid what you're worth, then you're probably like a lot of the other accountants that Denise and I have worked with. And you might be on that cash flow roller coaster, but we do have a solution for you. And you can join us at our Accountants Masterclass over at theabundantaccountant.com to really learn how to communicate your value, collect higher fees with confidence, and be paid what you are worth for that knowledge so you can work a little bit less and make more money. Once again, please share with me your stories by emailing me personally at hello@thepitchqueen.com. I would love to hear from you, and have a wonderful day.